Hap, maybe we can start the interview by getting you to tell us a bit about your family. Start with your name, your birthday, where you were born, and maybe a little bit about your grandparents and your parents.
Yeah, I was born in 1928, November the 2nd, in a little log house along Murray Lake, not too far from Cochin. I was born there, and I was born, my parents were Joe Boyer and Helen Villeneuve. And they were married by Father Cochin. I was baptized by Father Laguff in a small parish in Cochin.
Okay.
And
Father
Laguff.
Laguff?
Laguff.
Laguff.
Yeah,
Okay.
I was baptized there nearly 73 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
My dad was a fiddle player that fiddled at home. He tuned the fiddle and he fiddled at home, but he didn't fiddle in public. And he jigged in public when he had some fire water in him. He jigged in public, but it was different with my grandfather. My grandfather was Baptiste Boyer, and he was a great fiddle player along with his brothers, and he was a jigger. He was born in St. Louis, and he married late Charles Nolan's daughter, Virginia Boyer. And I liked fiddle music so much that I go to the house dance with my mother and sit by the fiddle player, the old Métis fiddle players there, till I tire myself out to go to sleep on the bench. And I used to listen to their fiddle tunes, and I got to play some of their fiddle numbers. And later in years, I got to get myself one of these gramophones that you wound up and found some fiddle numbers in that, and I copied some of that, but I copied most of the old native fiddlers down home. And I used to practice and practice and practice, and I was just getting nowhere, and I was disgusted. So my mother told me, she says, you want to be a good fiddle player, he said, you find a crossroads when there's a big bright moon, he says, you go down there at 12 o'clock at night in the crossroads and fiddle at 12 o'clock and you'll become a fiddler. I never said anything, but so one night there was a big moon, so I never said anything, so I never had a fiddle case. So I put my fiddle in a pillowcase, tied it on the saddle horn, got my horse and rode up to the crossroads a quarter of a mile away. Waited for 12 o'clock and I played, tied my horse against the fence there, and I played 12 o'clock at night right on the crossroads. Then, after that, I put the fiddle back in the pillowcase, rode home, never told my mother nothing about that for 3 or 4 days after. Then I told her what I did. Oh, she said, you'll become a fiddle player now.
How old were you when you went to the Crossroads?
Oh, I think I was 11 years old, you know. But what made me upset was, I was 7 years old, we got 2 fiddles. My brother got a fiddle and I got a fiddle. My brother got a little wooden fiddle, and guess what I got? A little tin fiddle, made out of tin. We used to sell them at Eaton's mail order. And I was upset with that, so I was mad, so I took the scissors and cut the string out of my tin fiddle. I didn't want to play it. I wanted a wooden fiddle. So, as this went by, my neighbor, another Métis guy there, he had a fiddle. And he'd play in house dances. He was just a young guy. And he had no 22. And he wanted to shoot rabbits so bad and he had no gun. So he says to me, Albert, he said, you got a 22? I said, yeah, I have. Can you lend it to me? I said, sure, but you got to lend me your fiddle. Oh, okay, he said. So I had the fiddle for a month. And then I seen him. I said, "You want your fiddle back now?" "No, no, I want to keep your 22 longer." Well, he kept that 22 all winter, you know. And I kept his fiddle all winter. So I had a lot of practice then. Dad used to tune the fiddle up, and I'd play. So he said to me, "I'm going to an auction sale. There's a fiddle there for sale." He said, "If it's not too much, I'll buy it." Oh, I was about 12 years old. So I went with him. We got in a wagon and away we went. About 5 miles down the road. So they auctioned this fiddle off. And that fiddle went for $13. And the old dad bought it. Come home and tuned it up for me. And away I went, playing. I played. After 30 days of playing with that good fiddle, I was hired to play for a dance, a wedding dance. So with the guitar and the fiddle, after 30 days playing, I went and played for that dance, but I had help with other matey old fiddlers that helped me. So I didn't play all night alone. And I'll never forget, before that, I was asked to play a waltz at a school dance. Like this old matey guy was playing, and then he said, "Albert wants to play a tune." I didn't say that, but somebody wanted me to play. "Sure," he says. So he gave me his fiddle, and I played Maxi Cali Rose. Well, I was sweating and nervous. Oh, I was sweating and nervous. And I played Maxi Cali Rose, and everybody danced. Nice slow off. And that was it. So I went back and practiced. And I said, "You know, I don't know why that priest kicked me out of church for." I said, "You know," I said, "I was going to catechism. I wanted to play the violin so much. I had 2 little sticks in my pocket, and during catechism I was playing the violin with 2 sticks. And the priest took me by the ear and put me behind him. Because I was, you know. But then, when he put me behind him, he was teaching catechism. I was still playing the fiddle. But I had no sticks. I was just playing the fiddle like that. So then he took me by the ear and kicked me out. And then I got a kick out of this because I get kicked out of church for pretending to play the fiddle, and then about 40 years after, they asked me to play at funerals. So I go back to playing hymns and funerals. So I said, well, started off playing the fiddle in church. I said, now they asked me to play in funerals.
So you said your dad was a fiddler?
He played the fiddle at home. He had a fiddle there and he played. But he wouldn't play in public. He just in a house he'd play. But he helped me tune the fiddle, eh? Then what I'd do, I couldn't tune the fiddle, so I'd take the fiddle out of tune, and I'd tune it up to see if I was close. But then after a while I got to tune the fiddle okay.
About what age did you really get serious about, like, I
Well,
want to learn to play
about
this?
12 years old, 13 years old.
Do you remember how many hours a day you would play?
Well, as soon as I do the chores, I'd come in the house and start playing. But I'd play late. I'd play till 3 in the morning.
Oh yeah. From when would you start? Like,
I'd start after supper. We had a kitchen, a lean-to, in the house. I'd shut the door there. There was a big barrel of water, ice water there, coal oil lamp, kitchen stove, and a lot of bannock and rabbit there, and pork, and I'd just play. I'd play and play and play. And what upsetted me most was, I went to a dance one time and I come back and I told my mother, I said, you know, this old matey guy was playing the fiddle last night. You know, he can't even write his name. I said, they had to tune his fiddle for him because he couldn't hear. But boy, can he play. I said, what's the matter? I said, I can read, I can write, I'm not deaf, and I can't play this fiddle. What's the matter? He said, just take your time, it'll come. So that's what I did.
Everyone knows you as Hap Boyer. Like your first name is Albert. So how did the name Hap come about?
Well, when I went to Korea, I took my fiddle with me. And when I got to Japan, it was so hot there, my fiddle melted. It just melted, just fell apart. So rather than take it with me, I just threw it in the garbage. And got on a train, and away I went to Korea. And when I got to Korea, I went and bought a fiddle. They're a Korean fiddle, or a Japanese fiddle maybe it was at that time. Just a cheap one, and I had that. And I played. Then we organized a little band there. So we were playing around there in the canteen, and all around. This officer come, he said, you guys got a name for that band? I said, no. What? He says, they want some music up in the English camp down the road. He says, I told him there was some boys in our camp that could play. But he says, I want you to have a name. And he says, well, I said, I don't know what to call it. He says, let's call it Hap Boyer and his Homesteaders. I said, okay. And he said, I'll get some boxes made. So he got some old he painted some old Asahi beer boxes and put on there Hap Boyer and his Homesteaders and some music notes. And that's how it started, and it stuck ever since.
Oh yeah. Well, that's a neat story. We'll back up even further to when you're a young boy, about 12. So do you remember what the very first tune you learned on the fiddle?
The very first tune was "Oh My Darling Clementine," but when my first dance number was I played that waltz. Remember, I played Mexicali Rose, and everybody was dancing, and I was sweating. "Oh My Darling Clementine," that was supposed to be an old number, you know. That a lot of people played that for learning, I guess.
That's interesting, Mexicali Rose, because I used to live in Ottawa back in the early 80s, and there was a restaurant called Mexicali Rose. So.
Yeah, I never played that since.
So, your very first fiddle, or even any fiddles you own since that very first fiddle, did you personalize your fiddle? Did you in any way did you decorate it or paint it or hang something from it?
Yeah, I heard I have a couple of pom-poms in one fiddle, but I took it out of this fiddle to wash them. They were dirty. But I put my picture in one of them.
On the front or the back?
No, right inside.
Inside?
I got it fixed, and I put my picture and Hap Boyer in it. And I traded that for a drum set.
Oh,
I don't know why I did that, but I got a drum set, a good drum set for it.
Oh, you still have it?
No, the drum set, no.
So I guess the picture inside the fiddle was so if you ever lost it, people would know.
Well, my name is in it, my picture's in it. Yeah.
Well, you never know, that fiddle might come back to you one day.
Maybe, but in this fiddle here that I got a rattlesnake tail in it.
Yeah, maybe you could tell us a little story about what it means.
Well, my dad's cousin, he's passed on now. He said, I got a rattlesnake tail in my fiddle. He says, why don't you get one? He says, that rattlesnake tail, he says, it'll change the tone every once in a while when you're playing it. So I couldn't get a rattlesnake tail, so I had a cousin from Williston, North Dakota come down, and I told her about that. She said, I'll try to get one in Williston, North Dakota. I know some friends that I'll get you a rattlesnake tail. So she sent me by mail a rattlesnake tail, and on the parcel she put fiddle rattler. See?
Oh yeah.
So then I got that little rattlesnake tail and I put it in this fiddle. When I'm playing that fiddle, all that was if I don't have a pickup on it, just playing straight fiddle. All I want that fiddle, it'll change just like I'm playing through a comb with a paper.
Oh yeah.
Then I didn't want that sound, so I shake my fiddle and sound different again. So last summer when she came to Batosh, she says to me, "I got you another rattlesnake tail." She brought me another one. So I still got it at home, but I didn't take it out of the package, but I got one at home. And when I went and bought my pickup in Prince Albert during Batosh days, the guy said, as a joke, "Have you got a rattlesnake tail in there?" I said, "Yes." He looked at me, "You have?" I said, "Yeah, I got one in there." He couldn't believe it. Yeah, the old Métis people a lot of times put rattlesnake tails in there.
And that was just to change the tone of the...
Well, it'll change on its own when you're playing. Sometimes where it moves, it'll change the tone. If I don't like the tone, I shake my fiddle and I don't have that tone anymore.
What is that something that say Métis fiddlers would do up in this part of the country, or was that something?
Well, I tell you, when I first heard about it was about 25 years ago. My dad's cousin had a fiddle, and he had that in his fiddle, and he told me about it. But how are you going to get a rattlesnake tail?
Around here?
Yeah, you can't get one.
I don't know if they have
So
rattlesnakes.
I got one in there, and I got another one at home, and it's in there.
Well, it's very interesting. Very interesting. So, do you play any other instruments besides fiddle?
I played a harmonica.
Oh, yeah.
I played a harmonica, and I run out of wind, so I don't bother playing it.
What kind of tunes would you play on your harmonica?
Oh, Home Sweet Home.
Oh yeah, fiddle tunes or
Just old
folk songs.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So when did you pick up the harmonica?
Oh, I was about 10 years old.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So when did you quit? Did you always carry
no,
one around?
once in a while I'll pick one up and I'll play it.
Oh, that's good. Do you play any fiddle tunes on the harmonica?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That's what my grandmother played.
Oh,
Yeah. She taught my dad a lot of the fiddle tunes he knew.
It's
off the
got a story
harmonica.
behind this fiddle here that I got.
Maybe pick it up so we can see it in the camera, and maybe tell us a little story about this fiddle.
This fiddle was made by Oscar Bjornson in Wynyard in 1995.
Okay.
And it was made for my friend. My friend, I wouldn't say his name, but he lives up by Regina.
Mm-hmm.
And he had his son that was sick in the hospital. And he asked this violin maker, he was in his 80s, if he'd make him a fiddle for his son. Because he made 34 fiddles and this was the 35th fiddle. So he said, yeah, he would. So it took him quite a few years to make it because he was sick. He had emphysema and he was sick, and he worked in his house, and I think it took him about 2 or 3 years to make it. And then when he got it done, he phoned my friend and he said, I got your son's fiddle ready. And my friend says, okay. He says, how much? He said, $2,000. And my friend said, well, Mr. Bjornson, I can't pay that much. He said, I thought you were going to say $500 or $600. I really can't afford that kind of money. Well, he says, it's a good fiddle. He says, and he told me, so he didn't get it because he couldn't afford it. But then he died about 3 months later. And his son had all these fiddles. And he phoned my friend there. He said, you still want that fiddle? He said, I can't afford it. He said, what he wants, $2,000. He said, you come up today with $600 and I'll give you this fiddle. So he went up and got the fiddle, gave him $600, took it to the hospital, showed it to his son, and his son was already too sick. He said, take it home, Dad, he said. Thank you, take it home. He said, when I get better, I'll learn the fiddle. And a week after that or so, he died. That boy died. Now, this fiddle was in the house, and his dad phoned me. He says, Hap, come on, get this fiddle. I don't want it in the house. I want to give it to you, he says. Because he said, you played guitar, you got records out, he said, I want you to have it. And he said, I don't want no money for it. I want you to keep it. My son would be glad for you to have that fiddle. But he said, you got to come today. So I got in my car, I drove 4.5 hours to his place. Went to the reserve there. And he come out and he had fruit and flowers yet in the house. And this fiddle bothered him. Didn't want that. So he got up and gave me the fiddle. So I thanked him very much. He's a good friend of mine. I visited him for a couple of hours and then I told him I had to go because I had a long drive. So away I went. And about, less than 2 months he phoned me. He says, how's the fiddle? Well, he told me there were new strings on that fiddle. You told me there were new strings on that fiddle. I said, they are new. But I said, the G string is dead. I said, the D string is right dead on that fiddle. Oh, he says, that's because my son died. That's why that G string is dead. Oh, I said. And I said, there's a number that I had trouble playing with my other fiddles, but I said, seems to come easy on this fiddle. He said, that's my son helping you play that tune. Oh, I said, well, that's very nice. I said, I really appreciate that. And I've had this fiddle now for, I'd say 6 years. And I played it when I made that video playing Prince Albert for Bob Rock, Missing Bella Batoche. This is the fiddle I used. And it's a good sounding fiddle.
Is it your main fiddle?
Yeah, that's my main fiddle. I used to use my friend Slingerland's fiddle. It's Joseph Ganeria's fiddle, but then the neck got kind of warped, so we're going to fix that up, put a new neck on it. It's a good fiddle also. It's a deeper tone than this one.
So, could you tell me who made that fiddle again?
Oscar Bjornsson from Wynyard.
Oscar
Made it in
Bjornsson.
1995.
Okay.
And he died now. He died, I think he must have been in his early 80s.
A lot of fiddlers have usually one or maybe more than one fiddler that's been like a main influence on their fiddle playing. Is there one fiddler that you could say was your mentor or your teacher and had a big influence on?
Don Messer.
Okay, how did that? How did your interest in Don Messer's music?
I had a little gramophone, and it had Don Messer 78 on it, and then I bought this little gramophone and I'd wind it up and play it. And I got some of his records, paid $1 a piece for it.
Do you remember what the name of the tune was that attracted you to Don Messer's music?
Oh, most of the numbers attracted. They're all good numbers.
Mm-hmm.
One of the numbers that I liked and I put it on my cassettes was Out the Buckhorn Way. It's a nice snappy number. And I put it on my cassette there, and always a lot of numbers, a lot of good numbers were played. People still play them down East music numbers.
So what was there a fiddler that you actually sat down and played fiddle with or learned tunes
I played
from?
with Red Bobette.
Okay.
Up in there was a show up in up north there, and he was hired to put on a show, and Winston Watney was hired to do one show, but I was Winston's fiddle player. And then so on the open stage they called Red Bobette up to play, and he said we're going to get Hap Boyer to play along with him. So I went up there with Reg, and then they were telling about Reg. Reg has come from Winnipeg, and he's a very popular native fiddle player, and he was going on, giving him a lot of good credits and all that, and all the nice numbers he made. And I whispered, to the announcer, and his favorite fiddle player is Hap Boyer. And his favorite fiddle player is Hap Boyer. And the red woman burst out laughing. And I thought that was pretty good. And then we played together. We played, we must have played about 15 minutes. But he'd ask me what I wanted to play, eh?
Uh-huh.
And every time I tell him what I was going to play, he said, "Don't play too fast."
He told you, or you told him?
You know, he told me, "Don't play too fast." In 1970, when I was in Winnipeg, I wanted a job as part-time, so I got into commissioneers, and I went to commissioner in the park. And they had a band there, a symphony orchestra. And I see this old guy driving up with an old car. He walks up, gets out and holding his pills, walking towards the stage. And he stops and says hello to me. I said, "What's your name?" He says, "Pete Couture." I said, "I used to listen to you on the radio in the 40s. "Yeah, that's me," he said. So you see how you meet people? But he played by note. I don't play by note. I went to a big fiddle festival here in Govan, Saskatchewan, and my friend says, "You're going to play the choir." They had about 8 fiddlers there. So I come in with my fiddle, and the lady said, "Oh, I'm sorry," she said, "we got no more music sheets." You know, she said, "It's figured I couldn't play." I said, "What are they playing?" She said, "These hymns." Well, I said, "I don't need a music sheet." "You don't?" I said, "No." So away we went. I played right along with them guys, and they were all reading music, and I had no music sheets, and I followed them by ear.
Quite a few old-time fiddlers learned that way, eh? Just
Yeah.
listening to the radio. They didn't have the benefit of sheet music,
No.
but there is. We'll talk about sheet music a little later. But I think we pretty well covered the history of fiddling in your family. So we'll.
I got sheet music with all my tunes that I composed, but the only reason I got them on sheet music was because I gave my music to Trent Bruno up in Canwood, and he played along with my music, with my tape. He put them on music, and that's how I got them on music sheets. And so now I got all my numbers. You can get music sheets for them.
That's nice.
Yeah.
So that younger players that can read can pick up your tunes and
Yeah.
play them by note. We have a question here about the church and the fiddle music. We've heard of some stories, some good, some not so good. But we're asking all the fiddlers: did the church or the parish priest where you were growing up, did they encourage playing of fiddle music?
Well, you know, Father Caution, the late Father Caution, he's buried in St. Albert. He was a fiddle player. He played a fiddle, you know, but that's the only priest I know that ever played. But when we were living in Caution, the Catholic Church was right across from the school, and the school had dances, and the priest got upset about that. He didn't want no dances across the street from the church. But he didn't win. They still had the dances.
We were talking about reading sheet music. Do you think being able to read music would help or not help a Métis fiddler style?
Well, I'll tell you
playing?
what. I've been asked if I would teach some fiddle tunes. And the first thing I tell them, you're best to go to there's a couple of places where I come from, they teach music. And I said it'd be better if they went there to learn to play the fiddle by music notes. Because I said, if you come to me, I said, I'll teach them how to play all right, but they won't be able to read music. And I said, you wouldn't want that. So Like I can't read music, but I hear a tune, I can play it after a couple of numbers. I can play it.
But so you're saying that
I say that they should go and get proper instruction to learn to play the fiddle by note, because then once they learn their music, then if they want to play by ear, they could, but they still can. They got that background of music that they can go to.
it's very good.
You see, remember the late Al Cherney?
Yes.
Well, he used to play in a symphony orchestra, and he said, yeah, I was talking to him, he said, he said, I didn't like that. I wanted to be on my own. So he pulled out and went on his own. He left the symphony orchestra. Yeah.
Yeah, I used to enjoy watching them on
Yeah.
TV.
One time I was playing in Red Deer, and we all had supper there, and he says, if anybody wants me to come to their fiddle contest, don't hesitate to phone me. He says, if I can make it, I'll come down. So we had a big fiddle contest in North Battleford, and they wanted a guest artist. I said, get Al Cherney. And he said, you can't get him. How are you going to get him? I said, look it. He told me himself that he'd come if you phone him. And so they phoned him, and he went down. He come down and judged, played the fiddle in Comprehensive High School in North Battleford there, and put on a good show. And it was a big fiddle contest there.
Where was Al from? Or where was he living at that time?
He was in Mississauga.
Oh, way down there.
Yeah, but he was playing in Saskatchewan when we got a hold of him.
Mm-hmm.
I was co-chairman of that fiddle contest in North Battleford, and we got a hold of him, and he came down.
If you're getting ready to play for a fiddle dance, or if you know you're going to be playing on the radio or a wedding, are there any special preparations you make?
I don't prepare. I know what I'm going to play. When I go and play for a dance, I'm going to start off with, if they do 2 sets or 3, I'll start off with old-time waltzes.
Mm-hmm.
And then usually I have an accordion player with me, and he'll come on with some good polkas. Mm-hmm. And I got a singer with me too, and then he'll sing a few songs. So we mix it up. Mm-hmm. Some people want 2 sets, some people want 3 sets, mm-hmm. dances. So we ask them what they want, and we also ask them to bring their request out. And their requests most of the time are the barn dance, the bird dance, now sautige, heel and toe, and cotton eye Joe dance, and waltzing across Texas. That's the main ones that they really want. Mm-hmm. And if you go to the real good old matey dances, well then you got to go with a dross of brandy every time. Redbird jig, dross of brandy, and some good square dances. Now, some of these square dances they don't call, they just dance. Years ago we used to call them. Here they just dance. When I went and played in Moose Jaw here last month, I played there there were matey dancers in there. First thing they wanted was the duck dance. Then they wanted 3 sets of square dancing. First change, second, third change. But they did the old way. They called. This lady called. Okay? And then she wanted a Redbird jig. And that's what I did. They had the dancers from up in that area, Louis Real dancers, I think they were called. And I went to Candle Lake the same week, and they had the Cumberland dancers there. And they wanted the same thing. They wanted a duck dance and the square dancing. But they never had no collar. They just danced. Mm-hmm. And they were young kids. Boy, they were good.
Yeah, we've seen some good ones. It's sure nice to watch. Is there one fiddle tune that, to your way of thinking, would define the Métis style of fiddling? Does one tune come to mind?
Yeah, Drops of Brandy.
Okay. Why would that be, the Drops of Brandy?
Well, Drops of Brandy has been played, years ago when my grandpa was playing the fiddle, when they played the Drops of Brandy, it took 2 fiddlers to play it because they were so long playing, they danced for 20 minutes. But I fixed that. When they wanted Drops of Brandy, I break them into 4 couples. 4 couples, eh?
Mm-hmm.
And then it doesn't last that long, but it lasts long enough. I bet it lasts a good 12 minutes. And so when my grandpa was playing, he'd play so long, then the other fiddler would take over. That grandpa would rousing up, and that fiddler would go, and then when he'd play another 5 minutes or 6 minutes, and the other fiddler would take over. But long dance them days because they never broke them down like I did. Most of the fiddlers said, well, break them down 4 or 5 couples.
So when the fiddlers changed, like taking turns, did the dance stop, or
No, they just kept going.
the fiddler joined in, and then the other one?
Yeah, just kept going.
Oh.
Yeah. I was playing in Batoche there about 4 years ago. There was only 2 fiddlers that time, me and another guy. And he was playing Big John McNeil, and he got cramps in his hand. And he yelled at me to take over because he had cramps in his hand. And I took over from that, and nobody knew the difference. Just kept going smoothly.
I like stories like that.
Yeah.
So, speaking of unusual stories, can you recall any unusual stories, strange or funny, about Métis fiddling, or funny incidents at fiddle dances in your travels?
Well, I remember, but this wasn't Métis. This is when I was in the armed forces.
Okay.
They asked me to come play for the sergeant's mess. So I went, a guitar player and a singer, we went down there and played.
Whereabouts was it?
In Germany.
Okay.
Had big tents there, and they had a lot of booze, boxers, and beers, and they were dancing there, and then that time I liked to have a little drink, But I guess I had a little too much to drink. So I walked home with my fiddle case, and went to my tent where we stayed, and went to sleep. I woke up in the morning, I said, I wonder if I tightened the bow in my fiddle. Eh? Gotta loosen the bow, eh? I wonder if I loosened the bow, because and I better check. So I got up, opened the case, no fiddle.
No fiddle.
No fiddle. Here I had left it on a bunch of empty beer boxes, and I walked home with the empty case. and
I hope you found your fiddle.
Yeah, I found my fiddle. Yeah.
Well, a little earlier we were talking about the Devil's Dream, and there's the Devil's Real, I believe, and there's a lot of old timers that believe when songs like the Devil's Real or the Devil's Dream are played that the devil will come to you. Do you believe stories like that, or have you heard any stories?
I heard that, but I never. No devil came to me. Maybe he's waiting for me till I die. Eh? Do you know that fiddle is supposed to be a devil's instrument? Did you know that?
No. Tell me why.
All I know is my cousin come back from Yuma and he had a video about the fiddle.
Where'd he go?
He went to Yuma, Arizona.
Oh yeah.
And he come back with a video.
Okay.
About the fiddle. And he said on there about the fiddle is a devil's instrument.
Oh, I wonder why.
I don't know. But, and you know something?
What?
Did you know a fiddle is a female?
Well.
Eh?
Well, I looking at the fiddle, it sort of has.
Did you know that a fiddle is a female?
Why would that be?
Well, when somebody refers to his fiddle, he says, she's a good old fiddle. She is a good sounding fiddle. she's a good sounding fiddle, she's a good fiddle. You never say he's a good fiddle.
That's true. That's true. That's true. There's a song called the Hangmans Real. I got one fiddle album from my dad, and it was by Jacques Carignan, and that was the only fiddle album that my dad ever gave to me. And I hear that there's stories behind the Hangman's Reel. Why was it named the Hangman's Reel? Have you heard any stories about that? What can you tell us about the Hangman's Reel?
I'll tell you. I played the Hangman's Reel. They had this big jamboree in Battleford last year, and that's one of the tunes I played, the Hangman's Reel. Now, every Métis fiddle player plays the Hangman's Reel right, and every Métis fiddle player plays the Hangman's Reel different. So there you go.
Almost like the Red River Jig.
Well, no, it's not like the Red River Jig.
Like I mean that.
Yeah.
That.
The way my grandpa told me about the story about the Hangman's Reel, and he said about this prisoner was in jail for supposed to have killed somebody. And these are the days that they had these kangaroo courts, years and years and years and years ago. And he said that he was supposed to hang at daybreak, this prisoner. But the judge, he was a fiddle lover. Just loved fiddle music, just like you do, and I do. So he went to the jail cell with a fiddle. And the fiddle wasn't even in tune. He says, "They're going to hang you tomorrow morning." He said, "Now," he says, "if you can play me a tune by daybreak, I'll set you free." And he left him with the fiddle and walked away. Next morning, when they come to get him to hang him, they opened the jail cell, and there stood the prisoner. And the judge said to him, "Last night I brought you a fiddle, and I told you, if you can play me a tune on that fiddle, I'll set you free. Can you play me a tune?" And the hangman put the fiddle under his chin and played this number. Now, I can't play this number right now because I have to take the fiddle all out of tune. See, because he didn't know how to tune the fiddle. So he tightened the strings all the same. He tightened the strings in the E and the A, the D was A, the G was A. He tightened them up. And he played that number for the judge. The judge liked it, set him free, and called it the Hangman's Real. That's my story, taken from my grandfather. That's the story he told. And last spring I played the Hangman's Real to them, and I told them that story. But maybe somebody else got a different story. Who knows?